Obviously, the Canucks are still going through their GM search. A few more names have popped up in the last few days since we recorded. Tambir, the floor is yours because you did a whole video on our YouTube channel about what you want to see from the new Canucks management. So take us through the Tambir plan. Take us through the vision.
I brought it up in the video on our YouTube channel, the most recent one. Check it out if you haven't seen it, and please subscribe to our channel and like the videos that we post. But yeah, just talking about who I would look to hire for the Vancouver Canucks when it comes to management teams out there. There's rumors out there that they're interested in certain certain guys, but the guys that I like, it doesn't seem like they have any interest in. A guy like Brendan Shanahan, who literally is what the Canucks need. I don't know if you agree with me, Nick. I know you're a Leafs hater, but like
How much
as much
playoff
as
success did Brendan Shanahan have? Won like two games past
I
the first
agree,
round.
but do you remember what the Leafs were 10 years before Shanahan got there? Right. That's like they were basically the Canucks like 10 years before Shanahan got there. He literally flipped that franchise on its head. They were the joke of the league. And he comes in and he has this Shanna plan. And yeah, they made mistakes down along the way. No question about it. They made mistakes along the way, but the process was correct. The way they handled their business was correct, right? They rebuilt. They locked into Austin Matthews. They picked the right guy in Mitch Marner. They got lucky with Nylander because the Canucks took uh, the local boy here from Abbotsford. The reality is they did everything the correct way at that moment and at that time. And yes, they never had playoff success, but you have to admit, Nick, like they were a 100-point team every year, conference every year. So at the end of the day, I believe that that's the guy that's staring you right in the face that has proved that he could turn a franchise around in Canada. A big to playoff success and Stanley Cups, but be a perennial playoff team by the end of it.
The one thing I like, what are Francesco Aquilini and the Canucks known for? Two playoff dates, playoff revenue and things like that. Brandon Shanahan took, yes, they had many playoff victories, but the Maple Leafs made a lot of damn money under Shanahan. They made a lot of damn money, right? So I think 9 straight years of the playoffs, they only have a couple series win, but from the ownership point of view, from what we know about Francesco Aquilini and the ownership, they don't really give a damn about winning. They just want their playoff dates, right? So, but besides that, I kind of do agree with Tambier. He's sitting right there. At least talk to him, see what he thinks about your organization. Who cares if he doesn't want to come or not, but does have his input at least, right? You see what he thinks about the Vancouver Canucks and where they're going and where they're trending, but he's not going to come cheap, right? And we know the history about this organization. They don't want to pay for the top dogs, right? Brendan Shanahan would definitely be a home run pick for the president's role, but besides that, like we're hearing names like today we heard Patrick Burke's name today, Shane Doan's still in the mix, Brett Peterson, who I'm a big fan of, the assistant general manager in Florida. He was running the World Championship roster for Team USA, which I think last year, which they won, I think. But I think you have to go and explore the winning franchise. What's the model franchise right now? It's the Florida Panthers, right? And if you can get Brett Peterson in with a little bit of a Shane Doan, maybe a little bit more somebody with more experience, I think the Canucks will be going in the right direction. But the history of the Vancouver Canucks tells you that they're probably going to hire like Mark Bergevin or something, and or Peter Chiarelli type of guys, and then call it a day, pretty much.
I mean, there's also the talk about they want someone with BC connections. Like, I think the name that intrigues me the most, just as a Canucks fan, and Marcus Naslund. Like, that would be I want to get your guys' thoughts on it because it's not like, what's rumored with what's going on with the Leafs, which I love and we can talk about later. They're not just hiring some ex guy off the, ex player, beloved player off the street who's had no managerial experience before and expecting him to turn it around, a la, Trevor Linden with the Canucks back in the day, right? He was running gyms and, they expect him to come in and turn around, a hockey team, right? Like
Well,
Marcus Naslund, correct me if I'm wrong, like has experience running a team in Sweden. So
yeah,
it wouldn't
Moto.
be like, yeah, it wouldn't be like a Trevor Linden situation where they just plop them in from hiking and running fitness centers, right?
No, well, the funny thing is when Trevor Linden was first hired, I always thought Marcus Naslund should have been the one considered back then because he had experience running Team Moto, right? The Swedish Elite League and things like that. He had some experience working in a hockey management type of position compared to Trevor Linden just walking in from like from Club 16 and just getting the job right now. But the thing is Marcus Naslund type of hire going to be similar to the Trevor Linden, where if Naslund says this team needs a full on rebuild, but it's a 5, 6 year plan, and what if Aquilini can't get behind that? Jim Rutherford said that the ownership is patient, right? How patient are they? We have no clue, but we know this rebuild is not going to last 3, 4 years, which realistically it should last 3, 4, 5 years, right? So if Nowzen wants to rebuild, is this ownership going to allow him though? That's the only thing. But I agree. I will love Marcus Nowzen in here because he's somebody from a Canucks point of view who has BC ties, played here, captain, et cetera, et cetera. But he's been a manager in the Swedish Elite League, right?
Yeah, I agree, but do you really need to have BC ties to, have success? I don't agree with that. You know, I think Marcus Naslund wouldn't be a bad hire because he has experience in Sweden, but and it's a lot more different than hiring Trevor Linden, who had no experience at all. But I do believe that the person that you hire for this job doesn't have to have BC ties. Obviously, it's nice for the PR and all that, but ultimately, he doesn't have to have BC ties. Like Pat Quinn had no BC ties before he took the Canucks
He
job.
played for the Canucks.
Oh, he did. Okay, never mind. But
Yeah.
what I'm saying is, I
No,
just
I agree with the sentiment that they just need to hire the right people, right? I don't think like maybe if it's a tiebreaker and you want a guy with local connections, maybe then it's a valid argument. But I agree, just hire. There's also rumors today. I don't know if you heard this that they're interested in talking to Scott Niedermayer.
That's not
yeah.
happening. There's absolutely no way in hell Scott Niedermayer is leaving California in his well-settled family life and coming to Vancouver. Like it might. That's a pipe dream.
Well, the one name that I have heard, and Sat also mentioned it on his show, is Evan Gold, and he works for the Bruins organization, um, and
I
he's
just had PTSD if they're gonna hire another executive from Boston because I know how that turned out last time, right?
exactly. But apparently, they're very interested in him, Nick. Like very. I'm not gonna stay here and say it's a guaranteed hire right now, but let's just say there's pull there. Like there's pull there. And I think he's a general manager of the Providence Bruins, the AHL club. So he's like
Yeah.
their version of Ryan Johnson. He's a
Well,
lawyer.
I think they set the record for AHL wins this year.
Yeah. So he's a former lawyer as well. Some people tell me he's a very smart person. And there's people in the organization that feel very strongly about him and would love to work with him. So I don't know, like I don't know if he's
I
going to be.
will say this. I will say this. Whenever the Canucks have gone into or done business with the Boston Bruins organization, I think they're 0-3 or
Yeah.
0-2. The Cam Neely trade didn't work out. Jim Benning didn't work out, and now potentially looking at Evan Gold. We don't know him fully, so we can't really talk much about him, what his background, things like that. We just see the numbers and things like that. Seems like a pretty smart candidate, like how Tampa mentioned, he's a lawyer and things like that. But it's just equivalent to that's their version of Ryan Johnson. But maybe a little bit better version when it comes to the analytics side, but it's their version of Ryan Johnson pretty much.
Well, I think it's safe to say Ryan Johnson from all the reports. Like I haven't heard his name much anymore, so he's not
I don't
getting
think he's
it.
getting it. He's
I don't
not
think he's
getting it
getting it.
I don't think the
because
ownership group is excited about Ryan Johnson as general manager of the team. Could be wrong, but they don't feel
well,
excitement.
the ownership wants experience. The ownership wants experience. So, well, who's the most experienced guy available right now? The Shirley's are out there. Um, who's the other guy? Mark Bergevin. We discussed Mark Bergevin to a lengthy segment on the Spaces today, but he's out there, and it's like it's a pros and cons to everything, right? We want to hire the right candidate, but the thing is, knowing the history of this organization, they're not going to find the right guy,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
most likely it's not going to work. That's how it always goes. But that's also the odds are against every team that makes a new hire. Only one team wins a cup, right? And we'll see what the plan is going forward. But at the end of the day, I don't know much about these names. Let's just say that I am pretty confident that Shane Doan's going to be a part of the organization by the end of it. And I don't know what kind of role, but I do believe that he probably will be a part of the organization by the end of it. There was some rumors about Marcus Nazelnik. I don't know what happened. Sat sort of threw cold water on those rumors. But there might be an opportunity for Naslin in a smaller role with the organization if he's interested. Again, seems that the owner just wants drinking buddies. Um, so maybe former players as drinking buddies alongside him. So I don't know. Like it's going to be interesting to see where the search
I
goes. The
I do
lottery a week away, right? I don't know if they're going to have a hire by the lottery, but I'm sure they'll have a hire by the draft.
Well, let's
I
put it,
do I do
here's another
agree.
thing that I think we need to consider, right? Knock on wood, Canucks win the draft lottery, right? Get the first overall pick. Job suddenly becomes a lot more appealing, right?
Yeah,
Maybe they can play their cards, wait out until the draft lottery. They get the first overall pick. The job is going to
and,
become instantly a lot more appealing.
and if they get the first overall pick, it just makes it more of an obvious decision to hire the guys that did his magic in Toronto when they got the first overall pick, right? I
Well, there's another guy who had a first overall pick and he kind of fucked it up for a certain team. But Brendan Shanahan had the first overall pick, right? So it just makes sense.
Who are
Again,
you
coming back
talking?
to, do you not think Peter Chiarelli's going to sweet talk his way into this? He's a
No,
former
I don't.
Boston
You don't
Bruins
even
guy.
hear his name. I don't even hear his name in the conversation at all.
No, but I'm just saying, you think he's not lingering around anywhere? With experienced
I
person?
would interview Peter Chiarelli to learn how to not build around a generational talent. I'd see like I'd ask him to explain his moves. I'd be like, okay, let's do the opposite of that.
Hey, well, look what the Leafs are doing now. They're in shambles. Ever since the Shanahan era, like what they're planning on doing is just what's going on there. I thought
I think I posted this in one of my group chats today with my buddies. Like they're entering their Lyndon Benning era.
Matt Sundin
They're
and
gonna
John
hire a
Chaika have been
beloved
hired.
hire a beloved ex-player as the president of hockey operations who has no experience and is probably in way over his head. And they're hiring for the GM. They're hiring a con man burger flipper. So like it's perfect for leaguers such as myself.
Wendy's got some good burgers though. I must say, Wendy's got some good burgers
Wendy's
though.
has gone downhill in quality, man.
But the here, well, that deal is done. So no Mike Gillis
I
and
heard he's going to give out free Frosties to everyone after practice.
Vanilla
That's
Frosty's pretty
yeah,
pretty good.
chocolate Frosties for
But
everyone.
But going from like the Mike Gillis thing is not happening, but Matt Sundin and John Chaika, you did this entire firm, you hired a firm and things like that. So how in the world did the firm come up with John Chaika as the guy? From all the candidates that were potentially available, you ended up with John Chaika. I think he who did it wasn't he interviewing for another GM spot while having the position in Arizona or some shit like that,
Well, he got
right?
dinged. The Coyotes got dinged because he was doing some weird like brain scans on prospects without like the NHL knowing about it, right? Like he caught and hey,
Exactly.
we talk about the initial like OEL contract, right? Who signed OEL to that initial contract? Like Jim Benning traded for it, and that was a pretty stupid move. Who signed OEL to that initial contract? It was John Chaika.
that's true.
Yeah, it's true. And then
Selected Barrett Hayden over,
it just
a guy like Quinn Hughes, right?
it just doesn't make sense that the Sundin
Traded it. People
the,
forget John Chaika. Is it an analytics move to trade a seventh overall pick for Derek Stepan and Antti Ranta or whatever? Is that analytics?
Oh
that
my
was
god.
pretty bad. That was pretty bad.
Now the
That's
Rangers fucked up that pick. Don't get me wrong; it could have been disastrous. Looking at some of the other names on the board.
Who? What year was that? Was that the Linus Anderson one?
Yeah, yeah, that was 2017.
Last that's Petey's draft. That's Petey's
Yeah,
draft, right? But getting John Chaika just pretty much saying that you should have just kept Kyle Dubas. Well,
Yeah.
like you're going into the analytic
I,
nerdy
I,
type
w
of
I
hire.
wouldn't say they needed to keep Kyle Dubas. Like, what has Kyle Dubas done since he left the Leafs?
Well, he's got 30 some picks in the next three.
Lost
Lots of
another
picks.
playoff series tonight. So how
But
many playoff series has he
well,
won?
the thing is, Pittsburgh Penguins were never supposed to be in the playoffs. This is like he's in the retool rebuild stage, right?
Well,
But
now,
30
but
plus picks.
now he's stuck in between. Now he's in the worst place to be. Now the Penguins are in the
Well,
no man's land. Sure, they
not
can trade
really,
him,
Nick. They have 30, like Brian said, they have a lot of picks. So they're not
but
going
none of them
away.
are high. None of them are those franchise
But
changing
they're not
guys.
going, yeah, but they're not going away from their plan, which I
But
like.
here's another thing. They can trade those picks for like, I don't know, they can offer sheet somebody, they can move up in the drafts. They kind of have a decent young goaltender in Seeloff. They drafted Ben Kindle. They have a lot of people. They traded for Igor Chinakov, who almost became a point per game
But
player
none of those
when
guys
after getting traded. They're
are.
not difference makers, but it's gonna let's see starting next year what Kyle Dubas does now, right? So many picks, what's the future with Malkin, Letang, and
It's been
Crosby,
three
things
years
like
there.
that.
Like, what are we waiting for?
Hey, he's been stockpiling
It's
picks.
hard,
That's what rebuilds do.
it's hard to build a team around, guys that are at the end of their career, basically, right? So
Think
I don't
about this:
think
having Crosby, Malkin, and Letang still there, and somehow making the playoffs this year, and having 30 some picks to work with the next 3 years in the first two rounds. That
yeah,
or like that's nobody has
pretty
ever
good.
done that.
That's pretty
That's pretty
good.
good.
It sort of reminds me, without the picks, by the way, without the picks. So please don't take this too like don't come at me for this. Reminds me of the year when the Canucks made the playoffs was Willie D and Jim Benning in his first year, and and everyone thought that they were amazing at their jobs. Verbata was the greatest signing in free agency and everything, right? But obviously with the 30 picks though, right? Like with the amount of picks that they have. So like I think Dubas has done a pretty good job, Nick. I know that he was once a part of the Toronto Maple Leafs and you hate him for being a part of the Toronto Maple Leafs, but now he's a part of the Penguins and we could give him some credit.
Still the most overrated GM in NHL, possibly ever.
Yeah,
But
yeah, we'll see. We'll
yeah,
see what he does.
I want to read this about John Chaika, right? And this is from Steve Simmons' article that he dropped recently. I was going to
Uh,
read this passage for everyone. When he was general manager of the Arizona Coyotes, there were so many computer terminals on the giant-sized desk of numbers guru John Chaika that it looked like he was trading commodities on Wall Street. When Chaika was shown the door in Arizona in 2020, it was quickly determined that just one of the computer terminals on his massive desk was in working order. The other five, with data frozen on each screen, were nothing but show.
oh wow.
The Leafs are hiring an absolute con man, and I couldn't be happier.
He's not even a real
Hey,
analyst.
hey,
He's not
listen,
even a
what's
real analytics guy.
you're going from Boston Pizza to Wendy's.
Uh,
So
well, at the end
which
of the day, though, like I know that we're gonna shit on the Leafs for trying to hire a guy that failed miserably in Arizona, but like who hasn't failed in Arizona? Like Arizona was a trash organization that like the ownership
And
there
that's
was.
probably his pitch, right? He's probably that's probably his pitch. Is like, hey, like the organization was a complete mess. Give me the resources that you guys have, and I can turn it around, right? And I bet you that was his pitch.
it's easy fooling guys like Keith Pelly and like the Maple Leaf Sports. Like they're not the smartest tools out there, right? But if you're a numbers guy in Chaika, you can just like Nick said, you can throw random fucking you know uh, algebra, geometry shit, whatever shit at the board. These guys are not understanding it. They're just gonna know you're a well-spoken individual. You know your data, you know your numbers and things like that, right? But the track history shows that he's not a good GM. He's whatever.
Yeah, well, I guess we'll see where that goes. I thought they were gonna hire Gillis at one point, didn't go there. I don't
So
know
what is
why.
it? So what is it you guys think about Mike Gillis that he obviously had success in Vancouver, but it's been 12 years and he still has not gone back into hockey or a managerial role in hockey.
Well,
So
I
like
think,
something's
well,
up
I think
there.
it's, well, I think he wants to do it his own way. He doesn't want no interference from Maple Leaf Sports
Isn't that
Entertainment
what
or
everyone
Keith
wants?
Pelly's ownership and things like that.
But isn't
He
that what
wants full
everyone?
control.
I feel like everyone wants full control. right? Like,
Do you think Frankie's poisoning the waters for Mike Gillis? Do you think he's like anytime his name comes up in GM searches, he's phoning the owner, be like, "Hey, don't hire
But the
this guy,
thing is
man. He's a
also,
bad apple."
but they also looked at he was part of he did take the Canucks to a finals, even though they lost two Presidents Trophy. Even if Francesco Ackley wants to, muddy the waters, people can see that he has some legitimate good
yeah,
ideas. He wanted to rebuild in Vancouver, right?
yeah.
It's just the ownership didn't want to. But at the end of the day, if it's Matt Sundin, John Chaika, I know Mike Gillis. I think Mike Gillis would have been better there with Sundin, right? But and John Chaika as one of the assistants there, that's a different story. But uh, people talk about is Mike Gillis blackballed from the NHL? Like is Gary
I,
Bettman stepping
I
in and
don't.
be like, you can't hire this?
I don't think it's that nefarious at all. I think what like Tambier said is he wants to run it his way with his own control and his own way of doing it. And I think these owners, these teams are worth billions of dollars, right? At least the majority, a lot of NHL teams or high, 800 plus $1 million. They want to see at the table and they want to be able to, have their say. So I think, he wants to obviously, like
Well,
Tambier says, I think he wants to do it his way. And I think, a lot of these owners are like, well, no, no, I need to have
if
some sort of
if
input.
if you're sitting on the table with the management group and you're like Keith Pelly or Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment, wasn't there a story a couple of weeks ago that Keith Pelly took AI generated trades to Braintree Living?
Right. That was,
AI
and I bet you, hey, a guy like John Chaika is probably like giving them all the AI buzzwords he can think of to try and get the job, right?
exactly.
I
Oh,
don't know.
here's another John Chaika hit before we end. 11th overall, 2019, took Victor Soderstrom, 61 games played, one goal, 11 points, 11 assists, 12 points. You know who the next pick was? 12th overall,
Matt Boldy.
Matt Boldy. Another John Chaika hit for the Leafs fans out there.
Who's 10th overall?
Podkolzin,
Vasily
yeah.
But
Podkolzin. So yeah, Victor Swordstrom, he's in the Boston Bruins organization now, but
you had to throw that in there, really? Like, just
oh,
because
of
you're an
course.
Oilers fan doesn't
Yeah,
mean
yeah.
like.
Listen,
We're
I'm
talking
not
about
an
Chaika
I
Oilers
here,
get
man.
it.
fan, man.
I get it.
It's not just me. I'm not an Oilers fan. I do like the Canucks. I want the Canucks to do the things the right way, but I'm just saying, like, this has come back to the thing. You never give up on young prospects before a
No,
certain age, right?
Vasilia Podkolzin was never
Shut the
gonna
fuck.
get. He was never gonna find.
Yeah, he was never. Yeah, but hey, we're glad that he's found
Oh, I'm
success in
so.
Edmonton.
But
He's
I'm
knocking
super
people
happy.
out, fighting. Yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you
But
guys want to add before we wrap things up here?
I just want to say I'm super happy for Vasily Podkolzin. Like,
Oh
he's
yeah, of
playing
course,
great.
yeah.
I love it. He deserves. He's a good kid. But like at the end of the day, like even at 10th overall, it was a wrong pick, right? Like
Yeah.
they should have took Goldie or Caulfield, right? But at the end of the day, I don't know what happened with the Canucks organization. He's having success in Edmonton, playing alongside Draisaitl, right? That matters as well. He's a great player for them, but in reality, on a team like on a Stanley Cup team, he's a bottom six player, right? And he's playing good right now with Leon Draisaitl. Good for him. But like again, Brian had to bring it up because he's an Oilers fan, and he wants to.
Listen, it's not just me. It's all over Twitter.
No, it's not. No, wait.
Hey,
We were talking.
add it to the list of Canucks draft fuck ups, right? Like the list is very long. Like it's not nothing new.
We're talking about John Chaika, and he has to bring up the bad pick by the
Yeah.
Canucks. Like, come on, come on.
It
That's
was
not
just right
that's not.
there. It's not like the pick was 17th. It was right there. It was 10. Then Soderstrom, then Boldy, then I think was it Caulfield at 13 or some shit like that. But
50.
it was just right there.
Yes, Canucks fuck up the draft. Like, yeah, thank you for
Yeah,
reminding.
water is wet. Like yeah, we get
Thank
it,
you
man.
for reminding us,
Yeah.
Brian. Thank you. Okay.
But let's just
That's,
hope they don't fuck up next week because we need that first overall pick. Because it's gonna help. It's gonna be very helpful for the light at the end of the tunnel type of shit.
Yeah. Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
it doesn't matter if they get the first overall pick. It won't matter unless the team has good process. They could draft
100%.
the generational talent next year and Landon DuPont. It won't matter because one single player doesn't get you out of the fucking gutter the Vancouver Canucks are in. Like
Nope.
it takes a team, it takes an army. Borrowing a quote from the late Jason Botchford, there, it takes an army to win a cup, and not one player. So even if the Canucks get the first overall pick next week, it won't mean anything. It'll be exciting that we get to watch this player play for the Canucks for the next, hopefully, the rest of his career. But we know how things go with star players here, right? The reality is you need an army. That's the reality.
Yeah.
That's a good place to end, I think, this episode.
Yeah.
I think so. Thank you everyone for listening to another episode of Strictly Hockey Talk. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. For myself, Nick, Tambir, Brian, we'll see you all next time. Cool.
And
That was
Brian
a good one.
got me going there at the end.
Yeah, that was a good place to end it. Good place
That
to
was a
end
good
it.
one. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
perfect, man. I'm telling you, I know how to get you guys going towards the end and the show off in a bang.
Yeah.
Nothing
Okay.
wrong with being a heel. Nothing wrong with playing
By
the
the
heel.
way, exactly. I love playing the heel, man. I'm the prime, the rock of the what's it called, Attitude Era or whatever. By the way,
Yeah.
Tambir, when you're doing the video part of this, you can have Cheech's picture in the front or back if you want to do a rest in peace
Yeah.
type of shit.
What I'm also gonna do is I'm gonna split the Canucks part and the Leafs part and the Stanley Cup playoffs. Two separate
Sounds good.
videos. Because having an
That's fine.
hour 20-minute video
That's
sometimes
fine.
I'd rather
Yeah, it
just
could be
have
a
that
lot.
split,
It could be a
right?
lot. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'll
And
send
maybe
All
you
right, later,
this.
boys.
John Garrett, the John Garrett part of it we could put at the start, I guess. It's fine. Like
Yeah,
instead of
yeah.
it up.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, I'll send this to both of you.
And
Perfect.
later, boys. Cheers.
Okay,
Okay, see you guys.